Hello, welcome back to this month's episode of Old School versus New School. I'm Nick.
And I'm 7 of 836. No, I'm just kidding. I'm really like 92 of 836. Also known as Lance.
Lance, you're one in a million.
Thank you.
So this week, off of some of the suggestions in the comments, we decided to do Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, and then Star Trek Into Darkness,
Now I know what you're thinking.
parentheses 2.
Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking those movies are completely different movies. Well,
Yeah, it's not the remake slash adaptation in the traditional sense, but it's still kind of the Khan storylines, as it were, and they're the respective Star Treks to Star Treks Stars Trek.
The Trek of the Stars. But yeah, I mean, it does fit because, I mean, even though the beginnings are different, the storyline is pretty much different. Like the old school one just kind of goes straight into it.
Yeah.
And this one, they still have to build on the Abrams verse.
So I mean, it felt like, because I've never seen any of the original Trek. The only like Star Trek I've seen was the first JJ movie, which I watched and I was like, okay. And then I watched all of Next Gen because I wanted to see the Gargoyles cast doing like what they were actually known for. And it took me a while to like. I started trying to watch it and I don't like this show. And then eventually I went back and actually got through the entire series. And there's like 3 episodes of Next Gen that I remember.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the 3?
The first one was my favorite episode. Was the one where they're on that one ship, or not the one planet with like the Romulan looking people, but they're like primitive, and they have this observation place that goes haywire, and one of the locals sees it, like the hologram disappears and like they see bodies and stuff, and one of the people gets wounded, so he gets beamed up to the ship, and when he goes back to the planet he's talking about, oh, the great Picard saved my life.
I don't remember that episode.
That one's good.
Okay.
Maybe my second favorite episode, I think, is the one where Riker again dresses up or gets like cosmetic to like an alien, and they're on a planet that's about to discover spaceflight. So they're observing this planet because once you get to spaceflight, that's when Starfleet or whatever shows up and says you're coming into this bigger world, and here's how your place is going to be in it.
Okay.
But then they get discovered, and they end up finding out that like, hey, you guys aren't really ready for this shit, are you? And that one is pretty interesting. Then the last one I remember is that
You're not ready to be in the club.
no. Then the last one I remember is that was that alien that talks to like all of the aliens speak in things that happened in the past.
Oh.
And Picard was with that one guy on the planet, and that's
What was it, like
The one-
Shaka when the walls fell?
yeah.
Something like that. And they're just like, yeah, fuck this guy. We don't understand what he's saying. And Picard's like, I think I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's become like a gigantic meme.
it was.
So,
Well, I like the meme format where it's just that guy, and then he's referencing other memes. It was like Leonardo DiCaprio with his glass race high.
yeah. That's like, I completely forgot about that episode, and then like those memes popped up, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Next Generation, and then I actually saw the clip and was like, I don't remember this episode at all. But
Like cartoon dog with his eyes moving shiftily.
oh, okay. But
Fry with an outstretched handful of money.
oh, yeah, dude, you're right now. You're infringing on someone's NFT.
I know, right?
We're gonna have to pay the blockchain like crazy right now. But welcome to basically episode 3141.9. And like we said, some of you probably right now are kind of like, okay, well, I mean, why are these guys even trying to make this stretch? Well, I mean, it really did borrow enough from that movie. It tells basically the storyline. You can't say it's a mirrorverse.
No.
I mean, like the characters are like J.J. Abrams. That's the one thing I will say about J.J. Abrams for the Star Trek movie is when they redid them, I was kind of like, okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. And then right from the beginning, they go out of their way to like show you this is something different. This isn't anything of what you're used to. But then they go back and bring in Spock from the other, and it's kind of like, okay, make up your mind. Which one are we doing here?
So shall we rate Star Trek II Into Khan?
You go first.
Okay, I can go first. So I kind of like this movie.
Shit.
It felt like I was watching like an episode of Star Trek out of order though. So I was like, I'm missing so much shit just watching this as a movie. But still, I'd give it like a 6.
Okay. I was going to guess you were going to say 5.
Okay.
So
That's not bad.
Nope, it's
Like,
not-
within 1.
not bad, not bad. Yeah, I know how you are with Star Trek.
I just don't. Never been interested. I just don't really care all that much.
I get it. Like, I mean, honestly, if I was okay, well, I'll wait to say that part.
Okay.
So, if I was to rate Wrath of Khan,
Which you need to because we're doing a thing.
you know what? I'm switching it up. I'm gonna give it a Q. I would give it. I'd say a 7.
Okay, I was also one off.
Okay. Well, we were trailing behind.
We were trailing a little behind.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that-
sorry.
Subtly switched to my number for the next one.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'm gonna have to do mine here, but I would say I'm not like a huge Trekker, but I would say that I like Star Wars better. But that said, as I've seen a lot. Like I've seen all the movies. Next Generation is my favorite because that's what brought me into Star Trek. I remember being at the Green Dragon when I was like 12 years old, and Scott used to have. It was right after they moved out of Charlestown Square Mall to the one in.
Just giving all the locations.
Yeah, by the children. Well, Charlestown Square Mall's been gone forever.
I know.
So. But
That's
anyways,
why I cut you off.
when they moved to the new store,
Yeah.
and like basically it was a VHS tape that was sitting inside of a cabinet where it was basically I think it was Patrick Stewart who was talking about like this is the new Enterprise and this is the way she looks now. It's the NCC 1701D, and the reason I remember it is because he did one thing that was always a joke. Where he said, "Have you ever wondered where the bathroom is on the Starship Enterprise? Well, here it is." And he shows, and it's one fucking bathroom that's on this layout, just
For
one.
all those families.
Yeah, just one little bathroom sitting right in the middle, and like he just points it up. So it was a fun little thing, and I remember that was always like I remember watching that part as I'm waiting for my dad to come pick me up, and I was like, "Huh," and then like that I just started watching it after that, and I got hooked. But I've seen all the movies. Next Generation, loved it. Enterprise, I loved it, and I liked the opening song too. Fucking come at me.
I don't know what I was talking about.
Yes, it's been a long road, getting from there to here. I fucking love that song. It's good. I don't give a shit what anybody says. It's a good song. I've been trying to watch Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
So we watched the first season of Picard. I do like Picard.
I've never seen any of it.
It's good. It's just it's kind of hard getting into it because it's just got some crazy shit.
I'll have to show you the rant that Red Letter Media did about it. It was just kind of Mike from Red Letter Media just kind of saying they say nothing, and then he just went into a tirade in which he was acting as if he was saying a speech from that show, and then it would totally work where you're saying things that sound profound but are absolutely not profound in the least bit.
All right.
It's funny. I'll show it to you later.
All right.
And you're on YouTube. You can check it out.
Yeah. Check it out. It's I don't know how to link that shit, but anyways. So let me change my number.
Okay. So Star Trek Into Darkness.
Into Darkness. Okay.
You ready?
I got my number.
Okay. Locked in.
Yes.
I'd give it a 5 because it's like
Shit.
Because it's like whatever.
And I was gonna leave it on the 5 too, but I was just kind of like, okay, well, you didn't really sound very enthusiastic when you were talking
I'm
about
not super enthusiastic, but it's fine. Stuff in it was done well. It's kind of like looking at a picture when someone is shining lights into your face. You're like, look, here's the Mona Lisa. It's like, what the fuck am I? Stop it! Stop with the fucking lens flares, Jesus Christ!
I wanted to be like, but like honestly, J.J. Abrams loves his fucking lens flare. He fucking loves it.
And like we can't just have exposition. We have to do exposition with like cameras rolling around everyone, or like exposition while someone's running at top speed down a fucking hallway. It's like just stop.
But that steady cam work, man, it's good shit. Because the camera's not like.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I've always thought was funny about J.J. Abrams is like when he first started making movies, like you'd see lens flare, and it's like people haven't put that in movies like that's something that they want to get out of movies because it ruins the illusion. And then he started doing it, and it was like my joke back in the day was like, what's next? Like they're gonna be shooting a scene. There's gonna be a dog outside this dude like, "Burr, burr, burr, burr," and he's like, leave it in.
No,
It's so real.
No, they're gonna be shooting a studio and add in a dog.
All right, poke that dog. I need more dog right here.
Get the dog in for ADR.
Yeah. It was just like he was just doing stuff that like other people weren't doing. Like they were going through pain to like get lens flare and stuff like that out, and he was just leaving it in there, and people were like, genius. I was like, lazy.
Yeah.
And then you find out that he was just leaving. He was actually, it's like computer added lens flare. It's like, oh, you were intentionally trying to like blind people at the fucking. So I always thought it'd be funny if like a movie started out and it was like TDX, the audience is now deaf, and then the movie starts out and it's like lens flare, and it's like
It's just started like, all right, here's this movie, flashbang.
Basically. Now that I think about it, I think the TDX logo even had like lens flare in it too.
It had shines on it, didn't it? I don't remember. So, what would you give Star Trek Into Darkness?
Well, here's where we lose any of our Star Trek fan base. I would give Star Trek Into Darkness. The first time I watched it, I probably would have given it like a 6. But after watching it this time, the second time around, I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. To me, spoilers.
So now we've given our scores. Let's talk about the movies.
Yes.
And compare and contrast and say what we like and what we don't like.
Yeah, live long and prosper. Go watch the thing, and
Enough
then
time for you to pick up your remote and go stop,
okay,
or reach over to your laptop and go no more. Thank you.
there it is. I mean, it's
Plenty of time.
yeah. So
Okay.
all right. So I got a lot more out of Into Darkness the second time through.
Okay.
Same can be said with Wrath of Khan. So I have a horrible, like, I'm a terrible fanboy. Sometimes I'll go see it in the movie theater, or I'll watch it for the first time on VHS or something like that, or VHS. Oh my god, I'm so fucking old. Or I'll watch it on DVD, and then I usually won't watch most movies again. Like most movies aren't like a 2-viewer for me. It's like most movies are like one and dones, unless they're really really good movie. Now that said, I watched Wrath of Khan when I was little. Liked it, but didn't really understand what was going on because I was pretty small. I mean, they've got some pretty heady ideas in that episode.
It's also, I mean, you call it an episode, and that's kind of what it was. Like, I never watched original Trek, and it felt like most of the backstory in Wrath of Khan had required viewing to it, but I was still able to follow it long enough. I mean, they get along across that Khan hates Kirk, and then we're off rolling. But a lot of the little things that would have been like Star Trek fans being like, like the name of the ship. And he's like, and Chekhov being like, we gotta get out of here. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
See, and that's the funny part is when I was watching this again, when Chekhov rolled the belt and it said Botany Bay on it, I was like, I know that fucking name. But for some reason, I was thinking I'd heard of it from Lower Decks, the Star Trek cartoon.
Yeah.
And but apparently that's not what it was called because I couldn't find it. And now it's bothering me on what that fucking place was called. But anyways, neither here nor there. But yeah, the Botany Bay was apparently Khan's ship that they basically got off onto. And like the other thing that's funny about this, and I know I'm showing that I'm a bad Star Trek fan. So original series, I watched a good bit of it back in the day. But it's like if you held a gun to my face and you're like, tell me an episode all the way through. You don't have to hit everything. You don't have to say every fucking line, but like hit the high notes. I'd be like, just fucking kill me.
I'd go triples fuck, and there's a bunch of them everywhere, and they have to kill them. Did I get it? I hope so.
Virus gets on ship, and everyone's drunk and fucking, and Sulu's like stabbing people with a rapier.
Oh yeah, that happened, didn't it?
That's it. I mean, there's not much I can remember about original Trek other than Kirk, shirtless Kirk's a fucking Gorn.
Yeah.
And makes a bazooka out of like, yeah, and makes a bazooka out of like a stick and some rocks and some sand or something.
I could hit high notes just off of people making fun of it. But I've literally never seen a single episode of original series.
There's some good ones. Like there's one with Ron Howard's brother, Clint Howard, where he plays a really ugly like baby emperor or something like that.
So you mean Clint Howard?
Yes. Hey, he's a handsome man. Okay.
For all of our Clint Howard fans out
Yeah,
there.
right. Right now, Clint Howard's like, hey.
Hey.
But yeah, I'm a bad fan. So like I'd watched Wrath of Khan when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd watched it one other time after that because I like Ricardo Montalban. But like the biggest thing I know Ricardo Montalban from is fucking Fantasy Island. Watched it again this week so we could do the review so it'd be fresh in my mind. And the funny part is that I kind of got the same thing as you, like when they're talking Kirk, like especially when like Chekhov was just like, we gotta go, we gotta go, and I was like, there's something I'm missing here. Like there's something that old school Trek fans, when he rolled that belt over there, like, oh fuck, and then that's when Walter Koenig was like, oh fuck,
Yeah, that's stuff that would have been like last episode on on Star Trek. Like all this stuff happened.
So I have a friend at work. His name is one of my coworkers. His name is Vic, and he's like a huge Star Trek fan. And like I told him, I was like, yeah, you should watch our review. We're gonna do like Into Darkness versus Wrath of Khan and see which one's better. And Vic was like, it's no brainer. It's fucking Wrath of Khan. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I said, yeah, I really like that one too. And he was like, you know how they made Wrath of Khan, don't you? And I was like, no, how? And he goes, well, they borrowed, like they had a storyline for the second movie. Basically worked up, and they were just like, no, we don't want that. So then they started like going through episodes, and they're like, we're going to take some of that, we're going to take some of this, we're going to take some of this, and they just kind of shoved it together, and it became one of their most popular movies. I don't know if that story's true. I did not vet that story, but I believe Vic because he's a huge Star Trek fan. I would dare say nerd, and I'm pretty sure if he ever watched this video, he'd be like, yeah, that's accurate. But yeah, it's watching it again. I had no idea there was an episode called Space Seed, so I went and I found that one. I watched about half of it before I had to leave, and then I just never went back and watched the second half of it. But I kind of wanted to find out where that rage came from, because like you hear fucking Ricardo Montalban talk about it. He's like, he put me on a fucking planet, and the thing blew up 6 months after he left, and it was a hellscape, and they never came back to check on us. And it was like, you're fucking superior human beings.
So, the first movie, which is why I feel like I'm missing stuff. Is they tell you that Khan is smarter. They don't really show it to you. And like in the beginning, when like Chekhov and the other guy who's doomed show up, they're like, Khan, like is superior intelligence, and so that's what's his superior intelligence. They land on this planet, and his plan was to wait for a ship to show up. Genius. And then when they show up, use your superior numbers to overwhelm them. Bam, superior numbers. Why didn't I think of that? Just have more people. Fucking genius. And then put these brain bugs in them. I mean, that's the first like thing that might be kind of smart. But they're just telling you he's a genius. They tell you, they don't show you that he's a genius.
I was like,
not until later. And I'm like, was this in the TV show? And they're trying to catch you up, but I didn't see it, so all it is you telling me.
Yeah, so Daddy Noonien Soong apparently got a hold of some CRISPR kits and like went fucking crazy on making some genetically altered children. So like they're better in every way. And I think if I'm, again, a bad Star Trek fan, but if I was to understand that there was a whole thing about, and that's the I think the biggest thing about Star Trek that I think I love is that basically they'll show you that we live in this future. There's no hunger. You don't need money. Everyone's just kind of taken care of, There's peace on the planet. But then they'll roll back to our times where it was like they were really xenophobic back then. Like they hated superior people because they thought that, they were going to, I guess, kill all the normies. And then Picard did the whole, we don't like androids because they're gonna take over and kill all the people. So it's like it's great that there's some future for us where we've taken care of everything and we're like cool with each other and we're not going to try and kill each other.
And it's a nice pipe dream. I think we're going to crash and burn.
Well, it's like one of my podcasts I listened to it earlier today is they were talking about when the Wright brothers made the plane, the first plane, and it flew, and then like 11 years later they used a plane in World War I, and like it was made out of paper mache and tissue, and like it was basically they were used for spy planes, and then eventually they strapped a machine gun on it. And then like they were shooting off their propeller because they're idiots. And then finally they one of the podcasters said, "Isn't it just like humankind? The second we discover something for the benefit of mankind, we figure out how to kill motherfuckers with it." And
or fuck it.
Yeah. That's the robot chicken. I made this robot. Can you fuck it? No, but she can do like 500 different mathematical things. But can you fuck it?
It's something new is invented. Humans are going to figure out either how to use it for porn or use it for war.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right.
I mean, that's why VHS beat out Betamax and DVD beat out HD DVD or whatever.
Well, black
DVD and Laserdisc, and then Blu-ray versus HD DVD.
And the thing that's weird about it is it's like everything that went away, it seemed like that was like the superior thing.
But I think they tended to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Well, and people went for what was more affordable.
My dad bought one of the first VHSs. I had it for the longest time. And just to show you quality back in the day, this VHS player, he bought it when I was like 10 or something. When I was fucking 32, I was still watching my old VHSs on that thing. That thing lasted forever. I'm pretty sure if I could find it right now, it would still work.
Well, the microwave in my house is almost as old as I am.
Really?
Yeah. It still works. The light inside doesn't work, but I mean, it still heats up food. Who gives a shit? You just can't. If you want to see what it is, you have to pause it and like, how's it going? Oh, okay.
You know, I have to have a flashlight and just kind of like peer in there.
Yeah, so you guess how long things take.
What does it? So I'm guessing it doesn't have the rotatey tray, but did you buy the thing where you can like wind it up and stick it in there so it does the rotatey?
It doesn't rotate.
No.
Yeah, but
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
No, that break.
I mean, everything breaks now.
That's the problem. Like we had our fridge and it lasted for like 2 years. Yeah, we bought a fridge for 2 fucking years.
That happened with James too.
It's fucking sucks.
No.
New shit's awful.
Yeah.
But there's also so many stupid things in it. Like I need to be able to connect my fridge to Wi-Fi or whatever.
Yeah, and that's dumb. Like that fridge we have over there, that things came from like a secondhand shop. We bought it for like $200. We haven't had a fucking problem with it. Not one problem. James and Becky went out and bought a brand new Maytag fridge. It was beautiful, and that thing broke after like 9 months. And the guy came out and was like, "Oh yeah, it's under warranty. We have to find this part. Yeah, I get to back charge the factory or whatever, like $90. And then I think they had to pay something on it because warranties aren't.
Yeah.
You don't pay for anything. Now it's like you pay for me coming out to put it in. And like James actually went on YouTube to try and see if he could figure out how to do it himself, and like they made it intentionally like ridiculous.
Yeah, you're not gonna do it yourself.
Yeah, like everything now sucks.
Yes.
But anyways, I have no idea what I was talking about.
Some future in which
yes,
you imagine the past where everything was better.
Yeah, like it's funny that they show this world where it's like everything is great, and then you look at the world now and it's like where do we have to go? Like, what has to happen before we get there?
And we need to get post-scarcity. Scarcity needs to go away, and then there'd be no reason to fight anymore. It's like if you don't need oil anymore because everyone has fuel, you don't have to fight over oil and all that kind of shit. If you don't have to fight over food anymore, if you don't have to fight over water.
So it shows how much of a deeper thinker you are than me, because it's like my thing is always we just need somebody to fight. And since there's like we've made guns, we've made armor, we've made tanks, so it's like anything in the environment can't kill us, so it's like we have to kill each other.
Well, that's it too. I mean, there's always the like the first step is figuring out that like you're different from other people and finding out that that's okay, and then you start forming like your little tribe, and then it's finding out that you're like, so it's me versus them, and then eventually it's us versus them, and we need to stop doing the tribalism and get over that sort of shit.
Oh, no.
And start thinking about like our group of people versus this group of people, instead think of us as all one, group of humanity or whatever.
I mean, it's like you're my buddy Tim, and my wife, I have my kid Shane, James. Like I have my friends. It's like, and just being friends with y'all is exhausting. Yeah. So like if I have to be friends with everybody,
it's just you have to stop seeing people as like the enemy or whatever, which is hard. It's exhausting to give a shit. Yeah. So I'm dead inside, and that helps.
Okay.
When you get to 38, you're just dead inside.
Oh Jesus, I'm at 47.
Are you not dead inside? What the fuck have you been doing?
I mean, it's more like it's kind of limping along. Like if I guess my soul is more like whenever most people I see, I'm just like, and then I get to know them a little bit, and then like my soul's like. And then they do something fucking stupid. I was like, I knew it. So,
that's why I like watching movies and shit. It's escapism. Like to go imagine myself in a place where I could give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it always annoys me with some of the Star Trek movies just because it's like everything is perfect.
Yes.
And that's, I think, why I gave the Abramsverse movies like such a high review. Like watching this movie over again, In a Darkness, it's like the first time I watched it, it was just kind of like, and I get it. People don't like the way the Klingons look, and you buy a fucking original idea for a movie. I mean, honestly, it was pretty fucking good. Like the whole scene, like I love Chris Pine. I think the cast has chemistry. Zachary Quinto, Chris Pine. Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
I know you're.
It's a whatever fucking action movie. That was fucking whatever. People in torpedoes. That was fucking stupid, and I hated it.
Really?
I fucking hated it. I hate the people in torpedoes. I'm like, oh, whatever.
See, it's that part actually didn't make a lot of sense to me until he basically went through like the whole storyline, and I thought it was really fucked up. It's like, okay, you found out what was going on, you woke up the one dude, you used his family against him to make you stuff, and then you were going to send Kirk to his fucking planet to bomb him with warheads filled with his own fucking people. Like, how fucked up is that?
Yeah.
And the problem is that like when Humperdinck Cucumber Patch gets loose and like crushes fucking RoboCop's head.
Yeah.
I was just like, you deserve that shit.
He did deserve that shit.
Like I felt for Khan, but
But it's also Khan was a warmongering fucktard.
well, it's like when you think you're the. I know you've known plenty of people where it's like when you think you're the smartest person in the room, when you think you're the best person in the room, it's kind of like there are no fucking consequences to being a total fucking tool. And God knows I've known so many people, and I've thrown in my fucking 2 cents with most of these people, and they always fucking backstab you. Always. There's only been one person that's been the exception to the rule that basically came in my life and talked a big game, and actually is a big game, but he's a nice person. And I had a very tenuous relationship with this person, but now I love him. Cody. But anyways, it's I think that's ultimately his problem, is that he doesn't feel like he has to fucking be a true blue guy. Because it always reminds me of the line, I know you don't watch much Rick and Morty, but it's like, being nice to everybody is for suckers. It's like, as for stupid people, you're hedging your bets. But like when you think you're the smartest person in the room, everybody else is beneath you. So it's like, why make promises to ants? You get what you need from them, you step on them on the way out. And when old Spock showed up, and Zachary Quinto's like, so did you run into a guy named Spock? And he was like, I told you I'd never say anything that would like affect your fucking future. But
Yeah.
that fucking dude is a dick, yo.
We beat him at great cost.
Yeah. And what was the great cost? Just don't go in the room.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. But see, I thought that was good. But I just really, really enjoyed it. I can't tell you what it was about the movie, but like the entire time I was watching it, I was engaged. And I think one of the parts that I fucking absolutely adored is when they were running from the Klingons for the first time. I thought the little mini fucking birds of prey looked fucking cool. When they get out and Humperdinck fucking cucumber face like gets out with a fucking like rifle, and then he has like that gigantic fucking cannon.
Yeah, the fucking minigun.
Like the way he was wielding it and like shooting shit, and like one dude jumped up there and he like swept the legs off from everything and like blasted them. I fucking loved that. I thought it was great. Sorry, I'm not trying to fanboy on the movie. All I'm saying is that the originals are good.
Yes. The
originals are good. They have their place. It doesn't hurt to try and improve on some stuff if you're trying to bring something a little new and I get it. They did the storyline in Wrath of Khan, but it's still like
Abrams at least did something different.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not a Trek fan, and if I was a Trek fan, I'd probably be pissed because what's Spock known for? It's not going fucking rage crazy, chasing down a dude and punching him in the face.
But see, that's the thing that kills me about the original fucking Star Trek. When I started watching Space Seed, it's like, and this isn't the exact line, so I swear to God, please no one write anything in the comments where I don't believe that's what fucking Kirk said. No, he said something like, or I think it was DeForest Kelley, who was like, don't you know this, like, I feel like this. And he's like, don't you know what I'm saying? And Spock's like, I don't have the ability to know that emotion. You're fucking half human. You obviously feel all these things, so you're not just smart, you're fucking lying. constantly to everybody. You're just lying about how you feel. You're just suppressing your shit. Like, that's what bothers me about Spock. He's the smartest person in the room, but he reminds me of, like, a person who's just basically pushing everything down. Because every time you see, like, I think it was, like, the first Star Trek movie when he was, like, trying to do his things and the other fucking Vulcan kids were, like, picking on him. And he started beating that fucking kid's head in. But you haven't seen that movie. So he's half human. Mm-hmm. But they always play up that bit where he's like, I don't know this emotion. I don't know that emotion. It would be illogical. I get it. I get it. You were raised as a Vulcan, but you had a human mom, too. But that's the character. That's fine.
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy fucking killed that character. I think Zachary Quinto did a really good job on the character too. But it's like you're a fucking big fat liar face. Like whenever these they even did it in this movie where Pike was like basically drilling him down. He's like, you sound like you're getting some attitude with me. And he's like, yeah, which part? I've put multiple attitudes into what I'm saying. Which part do you have problems with? It just, you know, that's something that's always bothered me about Spock. But he's the fucking Data, you know?
Yeah, he's the cold calculating person or whatever that only does things based off percentages or whatever.
Yeah, he's super by the book. You don't bring emotion into stuff. Like, okay, that's fine. But it's just, I think that was what... I liked the twist of the character because, like, you know, everything that happened to Spock, like, even in the old school series, like, stuff happened to him. Mm-hmm. And I know you can't comment on this because you don't watch any of it, but, like, stuff would happen, and then, like, every now and then he'd do something. But, like, in this one, in a very short amount of time, it was like his planet got blown up, he lost his mom, I think his dad went fucking crazy, and then he lost his best friend. This dude's, like, running around punching everybody in the face. He watched him kick a cat. You know, at this point, like, he's just had enough. And I dug the juxtaposition between, like, the original movie and the old movie. Like, I liked the swap because, as I was saying before you told me to shut the fuck up and put it on video, what I think I liked most about this movie is when I realized that this movie was Kirk's Kobayashi Maru. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, Kirstie Alley fails the test. She's really trying to get under his skin about, you know, what did you do? How did you do it? And then basically that's when I think it was Walter Koenig was just like, he cheated. Or no, it was DeForest. No, it was...
It was Kirk's son. Or
David.
It was Bones said, like, he altered the test. And then, like, his son was like, oh, he cheated.
Yeah, Carl Urban. But yeah, like, he cheated, and then even not Chris Pine, but Pike in the beginning of it says you always play fast and loose with everything because you don't think any of the fucking rules apply to you, because you always get lucky and come out of it. And this was literally Kirk's Kobayashi Maru because his ship's fucked up, people are dying, and then he was like running to basically shoot himself over to the other ship, or he was going to go make the deal with Humperdinck, Bandersnatch. Mm-hmm. And like Spock called his shit out like real quick. He's like, this is logically everything that you're going to do. And he was fucking right. And he was like, you act like you don't know, you know, what you're doing. And he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's when it occurred to me, I'm not a smart person. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, this is real quick. That's when it occurred to me on the second watching. This is Kirk's Kobayashi Maru. Mm-hmm. And I fucking loved it. Because he was losing his shit. He wasn't the normal Kirk that knew everything. He didn't read the script before he fucking like filmed the movie and like knew every little thing to call. I liked watching him kind of lose control a little bit because everything always falls into fucking place for Shatner. And like this was the one where it was like everything was kind of like he was losing it. Now, I think they kind of did that in Wrath of Khan as well because Khan was always 2 steps ahead of him. Mm-hmm. But like I really felt the heat. I really felt the pressure in Into Darkness. And then there's the last 30 minutes of the movie. But
yeah, it's like they finished the movie and then they kept on with the movie, and that didn't do good for me. But I mean, also like during the scene in which I've been around, I know that Spock didn't die in Wrath of Khan. Mm. So I'm like,
no, he died.
Well, then he comes back.
Well, yeah, it's the Search for Spock is the next.
It's the next movie, yeah.
But like even at the end of Wrath of Khan, they kind of do that fucking thing with like
he is on the Genesis planet or whatever, and it's like it's surrounded by all that life. Like, ooh, is it going to bring it back to life? I'm like, yeah, of course it's going to bring it back to life. Yeah. But he at least at the end of that movie, he's dead. Mm. Into the Darkness, they're like, oh, we killed Kirk. Isn't this sad? And like, oh look, oh man, we're gonna the Triple's back to life.
Put him in.
Ooh, we're not even gonna make it last the rest of this fucking movie.
Put him in the cryo chamber. Like, yeah, at least in the Justice League movie when they killed Superman.
He died for that movie.
Yeah. Well, but they show the dirt rising off the thing, and everyone's like, okay, here we go.
Well, he's gonna come back.
Yeah.
Superman comes back, but they at least killed Spock for that movie. They couldn't even kill Kirk for this fucking movie. Not really.
No, it was a different universe. There's different rules.
No, it's the same fucking universe, but just with time travel in it.
They're different people.
It's the same fucking Kirk. It's supposed to be. Isn't it supposed to be like some guy went back in time and blew up Falcon and changed the whole fucking storyline?
So Chris Pine is supposed to be him as younger.
It's younger Kirk, but now under new circumstances, so it's kind of creating a branching timeline.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be what Kirk originally was.
Yeah. We're supposed to be watching the young lives of but I think that they've changed enough at this point. Like, the other thing that always bothers me about Star Trek is, like, the one thing that's, like, I liked watching old Trek, like, I liked watching Enterprise because you see them fuck up a lot with, like, alien races. Mm-hmm. And then that's when they're like, we need some kind of prime directive to tell us how we should... And I like watching things form as the show goes on. Mm. I hated Discovery the first time I watched it because it was like, this is a show that's, like, really old in the beginning of it, but we've got a fucking ship that can, like, ride fungus into, like, other areas of the fight, and it's like, why weren't they? Have you not watched names?
Okay. Again, only Trek I've seen is New Next Gen, and this movie, and now the first two J.J. Abrams movies.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, spoiler alert.
I'm not gonna watch them.
I know you're not, but
there's just so much to catch up on, and I just give so little shits. That, like, when I was growing up, I liked Star Wars, and any Trekkers, but although back then Trekkies. Like, back then would tell you, like, Star Trek is so much better. It's actually science fiction. You're watching that sort of science fantasy crap. Mm-hmm. Like, this stuff could actually happen. And the first episode I watched has Q, the magical, mystical man that can teleport you across the universe. I'm like, this is fucking magic too. Shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we're watching the same fucking thing, but stupider.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never know. Those might be, like, the neckbeards that, like, watch the original shows. I don't know, but I think, like, Clint Howard's character was kind of like a magic guy too, so I'm not 100% sure.
I was always clouded that Star Trek could happen and Star Wars was pure fiction, and they're both pure fiction.
Yeah,
Star Trek is not gonna fucking happen at all, and there's magic in that show. I mean, like, Q was snapping his fingers and made, like, Wesley older and made Riker have hot chicks next to him, and, like, it's fucking magic. But, like, any technology that you can't understand, no, it's fucking magic. Mm. You say it's technology, but then he does magical shit. So I just want my fantasy to be like, he's a magical, mystical Jedi Knight man, and he can throw around fucking spells and wields a glow sword, and that's more fun for me. So I'm not gonna go back and watch Star Trek, I don't think.
I mean, there's a lot to love. It's just like you said, there's a lot there. And the funny part is now Star Wars is becoming what Star Trek was, because, like, all the episodes that are being put out, however many seasons of whatever we're going to get, you're going to get, like, inundated with, like, a lot of stuff.
It's at least like, Star Trek is at least in an order you could watch it. Like, Star Wars is so fucking finicky and time hoppy, and it's going to be hell for someone to get into Star Wars now and go back and watch everything.
That's true.
Because even fucking Star Wars, the Clone Wars, isn't in order.
Yeah. Like, somebody actually brought up to me the other day, they were like, are you looking forward to, like, watching Star Wars with your son? And I was like, yeah, no, totally. And they're like, how are you going to watch it? And I was like, oh, I'm probably going to show him, like, probably episode 1, or we might start with episode 4. We're not sure yet. And they're like, well, you're not going to go back and, like, watch the one with Jen Erso? And I was like, why did we do that? Well, I mean, that's kind of where a lot of that starts with that particular storyline, right? And I was like, yeah, but it's a movie that was made way later. And it's like, are you telling me I have to watch it in, like, total chronological order? Because if that's true, then I have to go back to, like, whatever the earliest, the Old Republic shit and stuff like that. And I'm not doing that.
No, I'd say watch in release order.
Yeah.
Because the technology is going to get better, and I think it's more jarring to watch, like, episode 1, 2, and 3, where the Jedi are doing all this flippy shit and the lightsaber fights are really cool, and then you get to episode 4 when you've got Darth Vader can't move his neck, and he's kind of like, okay, let's do this shit.
Am I doing it right?
And it looks fucking awful, but it's the emotion in the scene that's you're there for, not for the sword fight.
Well, the reason they brought that up was like, I mean, that was kind of like the setup, and I was like, "Are you fucking crazy?" There's like so much to watch, and they're like, "Well, think about like Marvel movies. First time if you don't show him like the beginning stuff, like they're gonna be completely lost in the Marvel stuff." But it, I think the difference between that is you can watch most Marvel movies from where they're at. You don't get like their background and how they're buddies and shit like that, but they don't do a lot of referencing of like old movies. Like the guy shows up, you have your moment where the camera stays on him, so everyone will be like, and then they go along with the story.
Which they did some of that in Into Darkness. Like you pause on Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's like, "Well, what's your name?" And he's like, "Khan," and then it like pauses for audience reaction in the theater, and I'm like, this is fucking dumb. Like if you're watching this as just the movie, like why the fuck did he pause there?
Yeah,
and they did a couple of those pauses in the movie where you're like, this is for the audience, which just breaks that fourth
get your
wall.
oohs and ahs.
Yeah.
And the thing, it was even, and I am not saying anything about Benedict Cumberbatch's, fuck, I said his name right.
Oh no.
Fucking Humperdinck Bandersnatch. The thing I will say about him is he's a great actor.
Oh, he's wonderful.
He gives really good face, and he gives really good inflection, and he emotes like crazy. But in that part where it was like, "But my name is Khan," and then he does like
that face.
He does like a face, and I was just like, it's like, was Kirk standing there like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?
Am I supposed to know that name or something?"
He
said that name for the audience, not for.
It would have just been so great if Chris Pine would have been like, "Ooh,
Khan. Kubla Khan."
Yeah, but like I noticed that part too, and then like a lot of the stuff, like whenever he talks like a person who's like sick of the 7-year-old that's asking them like why a lot.
Yeah,
which was fine.
Hey, why are you doing this, Khan? Why? Khan, listen. You little motherfucker.
But yeah, like the whole thing when like Spock was like said something like, "Oh, it'd be logical if you did this," and he's like, "You really are smart, Spock," and he said it like fucking welcome to lap 5 when I'm already on the last lap. But like I did dig that about him. Like I did dig the way his character acted. I will agree with you that the movie stayed too long. Like it was like, okay, we did the thing. Okay, Jim's dead. He's back, but now we need something to really kind of get him. So let's crash a fucking Nemesis class ship, or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, onto planet Earth,
into San Francisco, and like really fuck some shit up, because they did it in like the Next Generation, one of the Next Generation movies. They had the fucking NCC 1701D like hit the planet and like dig up a bunch of shit, and that was it was a cool visual effect. But like with this one, they hit the fucking bay. And then, like, the water spray goes up in front of it. You can't see anything. And it's like, I bet that looks really fucking cool.
I think JJ has a bunch of scenes in which I bet that would look really fucking cool if I could fucking see it. Oh, God.
I tell you what I'm going to do for you. To really give you an appreciation of JJ Abrams, I will go find one of those, like, 900 lumen fucking cameras and just sit, like, right in front of the TV and stare at you. And when, like, really big parts happen, I'll just, like, Wah.
Yeah.
Did you like that? Did you give something extra?
So like this is Star Wars Episode 1, but directed by J.J. Abrams. Jesus Christ, stop it! I can't see anything.
I like take 2 or 3 of them. Might even do like like a fucking panning left to right.
Do it across the bottom of the thing to make it seem like the camera's going around people having a mundane, normal conversation. It's like the camera can't stand fucking still. Just stand fucking still and talk. It's okay. You can exposition if it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If the characters are interesting, like we had. Like character moments with like Kirk and his ex-girlfriend, wife, or whatever it was, the scientist for Genesis. I'm like, this is kind of interesting, I got across what they were going for through context clues without having to know. Presumably, she was in the show or something like that, and they had a tumultuous past or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I could get that shit, and Genesis was interesting but broken as shit. It's like, oh, we did it in a day. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, having a terraformer like that is fucking crazy. It's like a creation nuke.
Yeah,
like it's nuts. But like, I really liked, like, what does it have to introduce to the atmosphere to make all that perfect shit? Like, just to basically nuke everything, like burn everything up, and then like next thing you have waterfalls and deers and butterflies.
It's like, look what we made underneath this place, and they just walk out with like this badly matted corridor into like this paradise with like waterfalls.
Can I cook or can't I? And I was like, bitch, you are like going to be the most important person in the fucking everything.
Yes. Like why the fuck are you not everywhere? To be like, terraforming should no longer be a thing. But apparently it is, because in the next generation they're still terraforming shit. I should just be like, I'm going to terraform this planet, shoot my terraforming nuke at it.
It's fucking nuts, like that whole thing. But I mean, you got to hand it to him. Like at the end of the movie, where it's like, oh, we got Khan, he's limping, he's on his last legs, and he's like, I'm going to terraform this area, and I'm going to take you down with me. And they're just like, oh fuck, everyone double time, let's get the fuck out of here.
It's like, no, we're limping, we can't get away.
Yeah, like that whole thing was good. And the other thing that made me laugh about Wrath of Khan when I was watching it was the whole when they flew into the nebula, and then they're like playing this weird game of like, and like you see the ships on different levels, and for some reason, the Enterprise kept getting behind.
Well, I think they explained it as Khan is smart, but he's not experienced, so he's thinking in 2D. He's thinking of, he's not in space, he's on like a flat level plane. So while he's going like, I'm going to search from this way, they're like, oh, I'll just go up over here and come on up behind you and stuff like that. They're thinking space 3D. He's thinking
but there's like
ocean.
There's no windows. And it's like apparently all the electronics are down, so it's just kind of like, you know, did they have somebody up in that little domey thing at the top, and you're just like,
I think they do have some windows.
it's like everything's a screen.
A lot of shit is screens.
But like,
I think occasionally you have things of, at least in next gen, where they're standing in front of windows out into space.
that one person who's rage breathing through their mouth right now, like say down in the comments
Do they
why
have
I'm
windows?
wrong. Yeah, is there windows?
I don't think there's. I don't know if there's windows on the bridge because I don't think you want your command crew
Yeah,
protected behind a piece of glass.
it's still at the same
But
time.
I think there's windows on it.
It's still at the same time, like every fucking ship, they put like that little domey thing that has like the glass.
Mm-hmm.
So like anybody can just be like, you know, like the first time that Khan went by him and he was like, I strafed your side, I took out your nacelles and I hit your fucking energy, you know, your fucking dilithium crystals, and like you just shoot the fucking domey thing, you know?
Shoot the bridge crew.
Yeah, just shoot the dummy thing and you're done. Like that's the one thing that's always driven me crazy. There was a Star Wars game. I think it was Rogue Squadron, where you'd fly around and you could like take out pieces of the fucking ships, and then you could see bigger than shit. There's a fucking bridge. I'd target that bitch and strafe it every single
It's kind
time.
of like every time you'd have like the destroyers or whatever. What am I thinking? Like the Star Destroyers, that's right. And they've got their bridge right up there.
Yeah,
It's like you've got this entire thing with all these guns, and then the bridge is sticking out up above right here. Like shoot that.
yeah.
There's like people piloting the motherfucking thing.
It's right between the big domey fucking the big spherical orbs on either side of it. Like,
Which are the shield generators?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be shielded, but still, shoot that thing.
you're flying really fucking close to it. It's like the Trojan condoms of fucking shield. It's like right up against the ship or something. But
And you definitely want in a place where you're not looking out fucking windows and you've got your big ship, your bridge should be like in the fucking center place, not like near the top.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But like, you know what?
It's fantasy.
Yeah, it's fantasy. It's science fiction fantasy. But
You also want to for the interest of movies and like the visual medium, you want fucking windows so people can be standing out front of the windows looking over the vastness of space and be like, oh, enjoy Darth Vader as he stares out into nothingness or whatever. It's more visually appealing.
Star Wars into nothingness. Dun, 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 dun. The other reason I think I like the new stuff better than the old stuff is that I love fucking I love the old show, but it's like it's so spaghetti western to me at this point.
I mean, it's 60s.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, it's like every single time that you watch Shatner, like whenever he had to fight, like the dude would like draw back an arm and like he was just like judo chop, like he was ahead of the guy. Like the guy would just start to pull his arm back and he was just like, you know, like he knew what to do, but it was like he was so on top of it, and like watching Quinto and Humperdinck fight was like, I don't know, it felt a little more visceral to me. The acting just seemed like it was better. I love Simon Pegg, you know, Anton Yelchin, like all the cast. I just like them better. And I know that there are a lot of people who are going to be fucking mad about that, because I think 9 times out of 10, if I took a microphone out in the street right now and I found a bunch of Star Trek fans, I'd be like, In the Darkness or fucking Wrath of Khan. Almost every single one of them would be like, Wrath of Khan, are you fucking crazy? That doesn't have to be the answer. You can like stuff. It's okay to like different things. You
Well,
know?
I think if you're a Star Trek fan, you've got the entirety of the original series to back up Wrath of Khan. And if you're a fan of the original series and you're watching the Abrams verse, they've got those two fucking movies in which they took all that stuff and went. So you feel slighted. It's kind of like, I don't know, watching Ghostbusters or some of the Star Wars shit. Like how much we raged on Episode 7 of Star Wars, where they took all the rest of that shit and it's like, me, we'll make my own stupid shit.
Yeah,
And it's annoying. And being fans of it makes the new stuff worse.
I mean,
somehow.
Honestly, you are completely and totally right. Mm-hmm. Really and truly. Like, I get it. But they're showing you background stuff that you've never seen before. So at least they're adding to the canon. And then eventually they hit the time schism and they're like, fuck you, we're going on our own road. So, but I mean, it's like, do you want more episodes of the original series? You want fucking like Nichelle Nichols and like who's live at this point? Nichelle Nichols and
Sulu's still Takai.
Yeah, Takai's still kicking. Shatner's still kicking. I mean, do you want like fucking gooey face Star Wars?
No.
Like people.
I don't want. What I want is those characters to be done, and then you move on to new shit. Like kind of like Discovery coming out or whatever. Like I want new shit.
Well, it's like people. You can't like just have new shit though. Like people shit all over Discovery when it first came out, and
Mm-hmm.
I am also to the point where I'm just kind of tired of like some of the recycled backgrounds. Bo Burnham, she's like top of her class and she's amazing. Oh, and she's sister to Spock, and you know like
you're gonna get that. Just we've seen so much shit that they're gonna put out a new storyline, and you can pick out from all the stories you've ever seen before, and then just drop it into the new thing, and that's gonna fit.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's hard.
I realize the hypocrisy of me saying that because they literally did that in Episode 7 of Star Wars. It's like you're a nobody.
And I hated it.
You know, you're nothing. Or it was Episode 8. They were at least alluding to she might be somebody in Episode 8. It's like you're a nobody. And like, and yeah,
that was interesting.
See, I hated it.
I liked it better because I was so tired of the question of like, ooh, whose daughter is she? I'm like, no, I don't give a shit. Stop.
But
Let her be someone new and unique, and they were going to, and then they stopped.
But you can't.
You can.
The whole reason for those movies is it was the Star Walker saga. It was about, and we're talking about fucking Star Wars, and we're doing a goddamn Star Trek video.
But I mean, you play Jedi Fallen Order, all unique characters, and they're all fucking good.
Yeah.
You can make a Star Trek and then just have it be a Star Trek movie and in the original vein and have it be all new characters, and then you're not fucking up anything and pissing off old fans and maybe getting new fans. Instead, I don't know. Again, I'm not a fan of Star Trek, so I'm not like invested in how they fucked it up, but they did fuck it up.
Well, I mean,
and then made an action movie because what little I know about Star Trek, it's not a fucking action show. Maybe you would have like a fight or something like that in the end, but for the most part, it's fucking logical. It's Spock and them like figuring shit out and then having like ship to ship combat maybe.
Yeah, but like think about like the ship combat that you saw in Wrath of Khan and what you saw in Beyond Into Darkness.
I mean, it was more big and boomy, but I don't know if it was more exciting necessarily.
See, I thought it was like you.
I mean, them shooting up the little lower body part or the lower part of the ship and like bodies flying. I'm like, that's a little fucking much. I mean, it's visually interesting, but I don't give a fuck. Like, you just blew a bunch of nobodies out of a fucking ship. I don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah.
You're killing fucking nobodies. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like supposed to raise the stakes, especially when they're like 5% shields. It's like, oh no, are they gonna die?
No,
they're not.
No one's gonna fucking die.
But see, I was gonna make a really bad joke and remind me to tell you. Remember the joke we were talking about earlier that I was telling you I was going to do, and you were like, don't do that
one, yeah.
Well, I thought of something else that I
Okay, don't do that one either.
Okay, I won't do that one either. But, because the dude was a really good actor. But anyways, I liked the bigger special effects. The fact that it didn't look cheesy.
It definitely looked amazing.
But like the old school one, it was like, well, I'm coming around, and when I come around, I'm going to shoot you. And then like you see the really long fucking turn of the ship. With this one, it was like literally they're zipping and diving, you know, like they still did the old school combat of Star Trek, like they were in fucking ships on the ocean. you know. But like this one, they are using like every fucking turn and dimension they can, and I dig it.
I mean, you got some of that stuff with like the little Klingon bird, like birds of prey or whatever. That was cool. But like when they were in space, like the big ship just showed up and then just blasted the fuck out of them. The Enterprise was out for the rest of the fucking movie. There was no Enterprise fighting another ship. They disabled it. The Enterprise was disabled the entire fucking movie for the most part. So they didn't have ship-to-ship combat. Not really. They had the huge destroyer thingy just fucking the other ship up and being like, fuck your ship. And then, ta-da, we win. And then we're like, we're going to shoot ourselves out of torpedo tube. I'm like, whatever. I don't care.
See, I dug a lot.
It was neat, but whatever. I mean, that's why it's a 5. It's I watch it and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I just like I like some of the seeds they dropped, like the whole Scotty go to this coordinates and find out what's going on, and then he went there and you just see him like, oh shit, and then like, okay, honestly, there was a point where it seemed like everything was so fucking hopeless because the girl was like, I'm the only reason.
Yeah.
That he won't fucking kill us, and like fucking RoboCop's like, nope.
Yeah, just beam your
I'm just gonna take you out of the equation. I'm gonna fucking smoke all y'all now. And then I
don't know why I didn't think of that one.
Yeah, but see, I loved how fucking heartless he was. So he's like, to be honest with you, son, you never fucking stood a chance. I was never gonna let you live.
So that stuff's interesting.
Like I thought Peter Weller was fucking great. Because he was like completely fucking like he was the war admiral we fucking needed in a Star Trek movie where everyone's like, peace, man, we can fucking love each other. That dude's like, Klingons are coming, so I'm killing everything.
No, so let's just start this fucking war. He's tired of the threat of war. He's like, just make it a real fucking war so we can get this shit going.
But yeah, like I really dug like the storyline of this one. I thought it was a lot cooler. I think that it was a more complete storyline that they kind of fit in one movie to like say why Khan was so pissed and what he wanted to do.
I would agree that Into Darkness is at least one movie, but it should have ended with Kirk dying. And then you know what? Don't bring him back for the sequel. You really want to make a good fucking movie? Keep him dead. That would be amazing.
Dude, you know how the fucking like the internet would explode.
Fucking. Of course, the internet's gonna explode. You're working with an existing property. The internet's gonna explode over. Oh, we made his pants off blue instead of dark blue. People are gonna be like, "That's the color of the fucking Enterprise." But fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, you're right. It's.
So you just gotta. You're making it different. Do something different, or make the second movie about like, or the third movie about like. Finding a way to bring him back. Maybe they do some fucking time travel shit. Just don't bring him back at the end of the movie and immediately murder your stakes.
They already had that MacGuffin at the beginning of the movie. Like at least they went through the pains of like pointing out the whole thing of like, I can help your daughter, and it's like, oh, well, how are you gonna do it? Well, I'm gonna run here. I'm gonna go to Kmart. I'm gonna buy this thing, and I'm gonna make this thing that's gonna No, just take some blood out of my fucking arm.
Yeah, he's got Wolverine blood. Whatever.
Yeah. I've got Super Healy blood, but like, does that make her? Like, does that? Since I'm imagining it's fixing her DNA sequence, does that make her like? Superhuman too. Say down in the comments if that's because like I actually had that thought.
I don't know.
But yeah, I thought it was a more
Shifty dog. You thought it was a more what?
I thought it was a more complete storyline.
It was.
I thought the acting was better. I thought the action was better. Now
the action was better, I suppose. The acting being better, I don't know.
Well, so the acting is William Shatner. He knows his part forward and backwards. Leonard Nimoy, all the acting was really great.
At that point in time, they were in.
The guy who played David was a little wooden, but I don't think that guy had I think he had 2 roles before that movie, so he was kind of a new actor.
Which one was David?
He was Kirk's son.
Okay.
So and then they had to introduce something to I don't know what they were doing with it. And it's like, well, let's introduce you to this guy so we can fucking kill him in the next movie, and you'd be really pissed about it. Or one of the movies, sorry if I spoiled something with that. But anyways,
I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's all the actors, all the original Star Trek actors, great.
Yeah.
Ricardo Montalban was fucking awesome in Wrath of Khan. From Hell's Heart, I stab at thee. I like that whole part. So fucking good. But as far as it comes to action and everything like that, I think Into Darkness takes it. And you can be mad. You can be mad at me. That's fine. I can accept your mean comments. You could tell me that I look like fucking Ron Paul and Ron Jeremy had a fucking kid.
Well, I think the Trekker fans would probably agree that the action in Into Darkness is better, but what they want in Star Trek is not action. So what they don't want better action. They want like the grounded sort of science stories.
That would be weird then, because like that's literally the
It's-
first
you're not
movie
gonna-
was the first movie was a big science-y story where they found God, but it was V'ger, which was fucking Voyager.
Voyager,
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
And like people fucking hated that movie, but it was science-y and it was a deep think, and people fucking hated it. And then you had Ricardo Montalban.
But they did some ship-to-ship combat.
He jumped on a ship, left Fantasy Island, and started fucking shooting at William Shatner, and people were like, "Oh my god, movie's so good." So I just like,
Yeah. I don't know. I just want good movies that are good. And
too.
Into Darkness was okay. There was a lot of flashy shit on screen, a lot of lens flares, some stakes like, oh my god, is something bad going to happen? I'm like, nothing's bad going to happen. So false stakes, I guess.
I mean, you gotta hang those hooks out there, I suppose.
But at least they like throw in a character and be like, this is the admiral of this ship. Look, Khan's crushing his fucking head. That Khan definitely felt more threatening in Into Darkness than Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, when especially whenever he did that first, like, he knocked the fucking dude out, walked over, like, stepped on the girl's leg, broke it.
Yeah, she was like stomped her leg.
Yeah, and he goes over and grabs fucking Peter Weller by the head, and you actually hear the fucking skull break. I was like, okay,
Yeah, that was good.
yeah, not bad. But yeah, I just, you know, like I said, you could be mad. It's okay, I could take it, but
Put it in the comments below and make a new comment for each sentence about how pissed you are.
I could take it. You know, but,
It gets some of that interaction going.
yeah.
So I guess on this one we're kind of split. I think the old's a little bit better. So I mean, I have a feeling if I watched all of Star Trek and then came up and watched Wrath of Khan again, I'd probably like Wrath of Khan more because it's building on something that existed previously. I don't have that building block. I'm just kind of like coming over and looking at the top of the pyramid sticking out of the sand, being like, "That's a pretty small pyramid." They're like, "No, there's more underneath the sand." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not gonna fucking clear a pyramid. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna die soon. Come on."
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. I'll
But that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And you're in the more of like the. But the new one was more entertaining.
I've seen a lot of it. It's just, you know, apparently I'm watching Deep Space Nine. I think I was saying it earlier, but and I'm not into it. Mm-hmm. I've gotten through like 2.5 seasons of it, and like literally James and Becky are just like, keep watching, and I'm like, I can't. I'm so tired of Odo. I'm so tired of Quark, and they're just like, get through the 3rd season, and then the show gets really good. And it's like, if I need fucking 3 seasons of filler just to finally get the fluffer on for season 4, it's like I don't know if I could do it.
It's like here's your piece of pie. We put this much whipped cream on it. And the pie's down here. Just get to the whipped cream. I'm like, okay, the whipped cream's... Oh, God, I'm tired of whipped cream. Where's the fucking pie?
Yeah.
It's like at the bottom. Just eat through all that shit.
Apparently the Dominion War stuff is some of the most compelling fucking Star Trek writing ever. But it's like, if I have to hear Odo threaten Quark one more time, I'm going to lose my shit. It's like Voyager. There's a lot of people who like Voyager. Mm-hmm. There's only one episode that I liked was the Tuvix episode where I thought was really fucking good. It was a really good moral quandary, and I fucking love Captain Janeway. I think she's awesome. Mm-hmm. But when they got 7 of 9 on the show, and then it became, look at the really sexy blonde who does not like the captain and constantly argues with her, and I'm going to teach her how to be a human again. Like, I was just like, I'm done. You know, I tapped out on Voyager. I couldn't do it. And I just did that with fucking Deep Space Nine. And like every single time I talk to James about that, almost every single time I see him, he's like,
It's like, just keep with it, man.
well, James is like, so, what episode you on now? I was like, I'm on the same one. I was on like 4 months ago. And he's like, come on, man.
Just finish it.
Yeah. And I was like, I haven't watched it in so long, I'll have to go back to the beginning. And he's like, no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That'll make it worse.
He literally told me, he's like, you could literally skip the first 3 seasons of the show. Just start watching it from like episode 1 of the 4th season. I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah, I can
It's
do
like
that.
Doctor Who. I can't watch Doctor Who because apparently you can just watch the new stuff without watching the old stuff. But I want to watch the old stuff too.
Yeah, you want to be caught up.
Yeah.
To get all the references and not be lost or whatever.
I want the full spectrum.
But so I started watching Doctor Who from the Christopher Eccleston years.
Mm-hmm.
You could skip Doctor Who; it's fine.
Okay. I mean,
You don't need to watch Doctor Who. It's fine.
they've been watching it in the lab at lunchtime. And like I've caught a few episodes and that show just looks bad.
It's not great.
It's like the...
Some of it's interesting, some of it's not interesting.
like they're literally watching what's supposed to be like the best fucking Doctor, which is David Tennant. Like I hear a lot of people say David Tennant's like the best.
David Tennant was the best, but he's got a lot of bad stuff. But there's a couple fun episodes in there. Like if you were interested in Doctor Who, you could probably just cherry pick a couple episodes, watch them, and be like, oh, those are fun. Like the library one's pretty good. The Don't Blink is pretty good. Like it's got
The angels.
the angel statues, the weeping angels that only move when you're looking at them.
Well, they only move when you're not
When you're
looking
not
at
looking
them.
at them, yeah.
Yeah. Like the episodes that I saw, like I know a lot of the references. I know the dialogue stuff.
Daleks, yeah.
Daleks. But like the 2 episodes I've caught them watching when I walked in the room is apparently there's a kid that was in the 20th century who went to the future and got like a super brain or something like that. And he was worried about being discovered by his parents or something like that because like a key or something like that would open up on his forehead. And he's like, "You got to help me." And they're like, "You've made this fucking bed."
I vaguely remember.
It looked bad.
It's a lot. A lot of the show's not great.
And then there's
a couple things in it that are good.
And then there's another episode where like some woman was like threatening the doctor, and she's like, oh, "I'll torture you," and he's like, "I could take torture," and she's like, "It's sexy torture," or something like that. And he's like, "Do your worst," but like, it just I was just like,
Yeah, you could skip it. I mean, there's so much shit, like just by I mean volume of media. There's just so much stuff that you really have to kind of pick and choose what you want to do. And when I look at like those big chunks, we've had this conversation before. We're like, Supernatural is good. It's 12 seasons. Like I don't have the energy for 12 seasons. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure if I watched it, I would like it. I mean, there's a show that I agree, I probably would like that show. I don't want to watch it.
Well, Amber did the thing that I do to her, where it's like, if there's a show that I really like, I try to find an episode. Like, I really wanted her to watch Invincible. And when I found out it had Sandra Oh, that's like one of her favorite characters, or actresses. Yeah. Like, I thought it was going to be an easy fucking sell. And she watched the first episode and was like, meh.
And honestly, that's kind of how I was with Invincible too.
I thought it was fucking great. Like that. Oh my god, that show is so star-studded. It's ridiculous. And I am a fucking sucker for J.K. Simmons. I fucking love the man. But
he's dope.
But like she did the same thing with me. Like she showed me the episode where like Dane dies over and over again. He's like, ooh, tacos, and then like the day it keeps groundhogging.
The groundhogging day.
Yeah, it was funny, but it's like. I even told her, I said, I feel like this show is very Monster of the Week, and she says it is. And I said, I don't know if I could do that. And she was like, well, she said, go back and watch, I think she said like the first 3 seasons. She's like, the first 3 seasons are like what it was originally supposed to be, and then
done, but it got picked back up or something.
Yeah, and then they just kept throwing more and more money at them, and they're like, okay, and then like, I think they ended up in like, what'd you say, how many seasons was it?
It's like 12?
That's a lot.
It might be more. It might be more. It might be a little.
It's like 20 plus episodes a fucking season.
It's a lot. So I mean, there's just so much stuff, and time so limited. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you want,
and it's hard to figure out. It's hard to figure out what that is. Like, it's funny because it's like you said, there's only so much time, and now that I'm like older, I really feel like I used to play role-playing games. People were like, you need to go through the Lost Forest. I grew up in the forest, and I'm just like, skip. Yeah. I don't give a shit about any of that now.
That's bad. I used to eat up stories in like video games, and now I'm just like, I just want to do stuff, and like, here's the inventory managed part of it. And like, I just throw it in the bag, and maybe eventually I'll look at what's in my inventory. No. Like, we give you a better weapon, like 3. I don't care. I just want to move
This one's still shooting stuff. It's getting hard. Okay, I'll dig through the fucking
dig
bag.
Through the inventory
Yeah, and it's there. One of the first games I ever played was on I think it was the Turbo Duo. It was like the Ys. It was like Y with an S, and like it was one that was like animated, voice acted, and everything like that. And I remember I sat there and I fucking absorbed every bit of that game, and it was great. And then like I found where I just didn't like RPGs anymore because there's so much blah 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 blah. Like, I love Horizon Zero Dawn, great game. There's a lot to read, and I just I read it because if the storyline hooks me, it's got me, and that storyline hooked me. Now I'm playing Forbidden West, and there's so much more dialogue, and it's like I don't give 2 shits at this point.
Wow.
What do you think of this person? Well, I think they showed up and did this thing. It was like,
so it's like when I play Skyrim, and I pick up a book that I've not read before, or like that character's not read before. I pick it up and I'm like, I'm gonna read this book at some point in time, so I put it in the bag. And then when you can build your house, I build a library, and then I put all the books on the shelves and be like, I'm not gonna read a single one of these books. Look at all these books, and I'm not gonna read a single one of them for lore about the world I'm interested in. But apparently not that much. I can't be asked to read that shit anymore.
Yeah, it's.
I'm sure it's great.
Well, I mean, it's like you said. There's only so much time.
Yeah, there's so much time.
Like it's.
You gotta pick and choose.
I want to go back and like read like some of my old books again. Like a lot of the old Stephen King books that I used to love, like Dark Tower Gunslinger. I fucking love those books. And then they wrote the new stuff. And I was like, oh, well, they're going to flesh out more about Eddie and all them, and I'd really like to read these. And I went. I think the first book that they put out was Wolves of Kala, and like that sounds awesome. Like that title sounds fucking dope. And I started reading that book, and I was like, fucking bored, and I just stopped. And I have not picked it back up. And another buddy of mine, he said, no, I read the extended books, and I was like, is it good? And he's like, yeah, it's really good. And I was like, oh, I had a really hard time like getting started. And he's like, oh, don't get me wrong, it's like super fucking dry in the beginning. But like once you get into it, and I was like, I get it. You have to build some stuff up. You can't go straight to the head. You just got to be a little fucking heavy petting. But like but it's just I've gotten to the point now where it's just I don't know how much of my time I want to invest in that stuff. And I know that's bad. I know that's really bad.
Yes.
But anyways, we're talking about stuff
Yeah.
other than Star
I think
Trek
we finished this review like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Sorry if we were wasting your time. Put it down in the comments.
It's at least at the end of the episode. We've already given our opinions. We just need to. I was trying to put a bow on it, and we're like, let's just keep on fucking going.
Sorry, that's my bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're like 10 minutes over. But anyways, would you recommend Star Trek Wrath of Khan or Star Trek Into Darkness to anyone?
I might recommend Wrath of Khan. I'm not gonna recommend Into Darkness, unless you're just like it's like I just want to watch some shit blow up. You probably watch this movie. But for the most part, it's not going to be like, guys, I just watched these new movies. Like, I'm not going to recommend any of these to anybody. But if someone's saying, like, I mean, I'm into something science fiction. Like, Wrath of Khan was actually pretty good. Maybe we should watch that one.
All right. I would recommend them both because there's something you love out of both of them. Ricardo Montalban is a fucking treasure. All the Star Trek cast, they know their characters so well. Mm-hmm. And they're so entertaining to watch. I just think the storyline was more cohesive in Into Darkness. I think the action was a lot better. There was just more love. That's all I'm saying.
Lens flares galore.
Yeah, I just don't. I think that J.J. Abrams gets a lot more shit than he fucking deserves, and he's trying to give them something at least a little interesting, and it happens. Like we are huge nostalgia bait people right now, and I think they did it for a while. In like the early 2000s, and people were like, "This is great," and then at some point now we're just like we're tired of being force-fed member berries, and it's just like I don't know. I don't think you can win these days making a movie. I really don't.
That's what I will say. At least J.J. Abrams didn't mystery box Into Darkness.
What do you mean?
It was that whole thing where he did his TED talk where he had this box up on stage. And he's like, this mystery box. What's in this mystery box? And he was kind of giving his storytelling thing of like, as long as you've got a box with a mystery, it doesn't matter what's inside, as long as you've got that mystery. And I hate that so fucking much because that's exactly what they did in Star Wars. And he had no idea what was in that box. And the last person was like, I don't give a fuck what's in the box. And then he came back, no, put the box back. And I hate that. It's awful.
So that said, I just want to say one last thing on this review. Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
Look at the fucking scores it's getting right now.
97
with the critics.
And 99 with the audience.
But it's only been like a day and a half. That's fucking crazy. Like no movie is that good. Like what does he do? Does he fly the fucking plane into the theater and take you for a ride? That's nuts. That's it's getting that high with the critics. And Bob's Burgers. 86% nice. Okay, we're done. Yeah, we're done here. So sorry.
All right. So this was this month's episode of Old School's New School. Give us more
money.
Well, no, more money. Give us any money. But no, just kidding. Put down below more suggestions for next month. Mm-hmm. We've still got a couple on there. I think the Dredd versus Judge Dredd is interesting, but I don't think it's a mystery.
Thank you, Franklin.
So I don't think that one would be necessarily a mystery. It would just be listening to us talk about.
I might surprise you. I'm pretty sure there's some people. It's like that old dude with the gray hair is definitely going to say Wrath of Khan. I could surprise you.
Maybe there's some surprises in there for that one. So that's a suggestion I like. There's always the thing, and thing. The Thing from the Another World, The Thing, and technically the other one's a prequel. We wouldn't have to do that one.
Yeah.
There's the Grudge, or there's Ju-on, The Grudge, and The Grudge. That would be kind of cool. And that would be it'd be a threefer. Ju-on the Grudge.
And then the Grudge.
The Grudge.
The Grudgeoning.
Well, it's called Ju-on, the Grudge.
Grudge harder.
The Grudge and the Grudge. So those ones would be interesting, and it'd be more me talking about stuff I actually like, and know I like at least two of.
I think we should do the Judge Dredd one just because Franklin is like one of our avid watchers, and I like to, fucking fluff.
Well,
avid watchers.
I think this month was also a avid watcher one too, because we got 2 comments about Star Trek, and I'd never seen any of them. So I watched two new movies to me, and brought in my kind of meh opinion. They were all right. I liked them.
You're a tough one. You're the Yahtzee Croshaw of like this particular channel. It's really hard to impress you.
It's not really all that hard to impress me. It's just a lot of shit is. I've seen it.
It's redundant.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Or it's just kind of action schlock, and I'll sit and watch the action schlock and be like, oh, okay, and then I'll just never think about that movie again, which is I think is where Into Darkness is going to sit. I watched it.
I just realized that's what I do with like a lot of movies these days. I watch it the one time and I'm like, oh, it's a really good movie, and then I don't go back and watch it again, even though it was something I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. A lot of the fucking Marvel stuff, I've seen most of those movies once. And then, like, we decided we were going to sit and watch them all in order again. And it's like, I realized Winter Soldier is, like, one of my favorite Marvel movies. Oh, good. But now at this point, I've only seen it twice.
I've seen it a few times.
Yeah.
All right. So, comments below. Give us next month's ideas for Old School's New School.
Yeah.
If, like, Dredd versus Judge Dredd is one that you really want, let us know.
That's one I really want.
If there's other one. I mean, I just don't think it's a mystery, but maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's maybe like Let the Right One In versus Let Me In.
There's Firestarter and Firestarter. They just put out the new Firestarter movie.
Is it actually out yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Blumhouse, I think it came out last week, and then
there's Carrie and Carrie.
There's a Carrie coming out. Mm-hmm.
Carrie's been like. Is there another Carrie coming out?
I think so.
Jeez, there's gonna be 3 fucking Carries.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Well, I don't know about 3, but I know there was like the old Sissy Spacek one, and then there was the Chloe Grace Moretz one.
Yeah.
I actually think they're putting out another one.
Okay. I've not seen either of the Carries.
They like our Stephen King in fucking Hollywood. There's so much more material to work with. Give us a Regulators movie. That'd be so good. Give us a From the Buick 8 movie. That would be so good. But
we could do It and It. That would just be a slog, because there's It, which is a mini series, and it's like 3 hours long. Then there's It Part 1 and It Part 2, which are kind of like 2-hour movies apiece.
Oh, Tim Curry was so good.
It's
Give me a kiss, fat boy. He's so good.
So we could watch that. That would be It. It's.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're gonna let y'all call it. So just say in the comments. We'll figure it out from there. But
Or pull a fast one and pull something that was never on the test at all.
Yeah.
Or gonna throw us the Kobayashi Maru, and we're gonna reprogram the test and pick the one we want.
All these suggestions suck.
So I'm sure they're all good. Just a matter of like.
Yeah,
you gotta pick something we're excited to talk about.
I'm just excited when they finally do that Princess Bride remake, and we can do the Princess Bride.
If they do another Princess Bride movie, I'm never gonna watch that.
Yeah, no, me neither. You can't beat Fezzik.
No.
Like that. I don't. Who would they even do? Who would they even pick?
You can't. They would just CGI somebody.
You think?
Yeah, they wouldn't even fucking try.
They'd bring back Michael Clark Duncan.
No.
I could lift you up the cliff, boss, but it's gonna hurt my back. Yeah, they'll do Vincent D'Onofrio.
And just make them bigger.
Yeah.
They're not even gonna fucking try to get some.
He'll just stand closer to the camera.
They might get someone who's slightly bigger and then just rely on CG to do it.
They'll just hold a little tennis ball like down. Vincent D'Onofrio standing closer to the camera.
It'd be like it'd be Vincent D'Onofrio with a helmet on his head with a green ball sticking way up. That's where his actual head is.
Well, no. They just move closer to the camera and they move everyone else further, so they look smaller.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they just look in the areas where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, just like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it looks so
all right. Good. So join us next Monday for a new episode, and next month for another episode of Old School versus New School.
And we got some good surprises coming out for y'all. We're trying to do some more of the holidays and stuff like that. We're trying to do some more of the.
We've got 2 holidays this month.
Mm-hmm. Well,
one is this month is a holiday.
So there's Memorial Day.
Well, that was 2 days ago.
Oh shit! What's Monday?
I don't remember offhand. It would be one of the Have You Seens. So this is June 1st.
Yes, but I got Monday off, so something's going on Monday.
I don't know. So this episode's June 1st. In a week, we're gonna do something for Pride Month.
Yes.
And then there was one other. Juneteenth. I think we're going to do a movie as well. So we've got 2 holiday specials then the Monday episodes. So keep in touch. Or
Please.
keep tuned in, as it were.
And share this with people. Like, it's if there's obviously you're watching it for some reason. Apparently, it's probably my mustache. So I gotta admit, my mustache is pretty fucking dope. But like, share it with people. Help us get a little bit of popular, little buzz going, little buzz. And just,
We're definitely not closers.
Oh yeah, no. I think that's true. But
all right, so join us next time.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.